being entrepreneurs, we set the bar so high for ourselves, and sometimes it's unattainable at that moment. I had a call with her. I was just like, I'm scared. I'm discouraged. Things aren't working out. What if I can't get back in stock by the end of the year? Like, this will be another year. I'm not going to have sales. And she was like, Rikki, because you're so hard on yourself, you have to redetermine what success looks like at that moment. I was in such a bubble. And by her just giving me that little advice, it just reset me.
Welcome to Working Women Mentor, the podcast that delivers mentorship in every conversation. Each episode, we meet remarkable women who share the real moments, challenges, and breakthroughs that shape their journeys. These are stories that inspire, empower, and remind us of what is possible. I'm your host, Rikki Kelly, and I cannot wait for you to meet today's guest. Let's jump in and uncover your next mentor moment.
Hey everyone, welcome to Working Women Mentor. In today's episode, we get to meet the very, very determined Rikki Kelly. She is the founder of EGO Tequila. She started her own brand of tequila and her story is incredible. She is a Texan. She is a very young entrepreneur. First Black woman-owned tequila company in the country, by the way. She has started just by the bootstrap and has her brand out on shelves. She is getting to be well known. She is competing in the circles of like George Clooney and these major, major brands that we have on our shelves. And to know that she came from a place of not understanding even the process to now having her own label and brand is a story you have to hear. If you have ever had an idea, if you have ever thought about what would it take to just do better for myself or to develop ideas that I might have, this episode's for you because she knows exactly how to get things done. Everyone, let's jump in and meet Rikki Kelly from EGO Tequila. Here we go.
All right, Rikki Kelly, Rikki Kelly, Working Women Mentor, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to talk mentorship and tequila with you and everything you're working on. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much, Rikki, for having me on.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for being here with us and being excited about it. I mean, this is what it's all about, is just giving back and sharing our mentor moments. And I just love this. So, Rikki, would you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Absolutely. I'm Rikki Kelly. I'm the founder of EGO Tequila. We are a 100% pure agave tequila brand. We're based out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we offer two expressions, a Blanco and Reposado, both which are distilled from mature 100% Blue Weber agave, and they're additive free.
Additive free. I'm going to ask you about that in just a minute.
Yes.
But before we talk about additives, we ask our guests to text a friend and share with us how your friend would think about you and introduce you and what they had to say about you.
Okay, yes, I actually loved this. I texted two friends, and my first friend, she said, a beautiful soul that brightens the room with her smile. That made me really warm. I love that. So that was one friend. Can I read the other one?
Yes, please.
Okay. She said, loving, kind, thoughtful, loyal, ambitious, and definitely a self-starter. She said, I'm so encouraged by you. She said that wasn't hard at all. So,
Aw. I like that she added that piece. That wasn't hard at all because often like we feel like we're taxing someone by asking them to dig deep and giving all these thoughtful things. But when it just rolls off, you know it's genuine and authentic. So I love that. So you should feel good about that. So, okay, let's get into your story. I want to know everything, but how initially did you go from being a whole nother career? You were an AP clerk in the construction industry, and you are now the founder of a tequila company. That's a big, it sounds like a George Clooney leap of faith, starting a tequila company kind of thing. So take us through this, Rikki. How in the world was this transition?
Well, to be honest, I'm still an AP clerk, like part-time. I still try to help out. And it's not even the construction industry anymore. It's different like corporations or companies that need help. But the idea came about back in 2019. I've always been a lover of tequila. It's the only spirit that I drink. And, I was sitting on the couch and I saw that The Rock was coming out with his own brand. I really was like thinking to myself, there's a lot of celebrities that emerge into the industry with these brands and they do so well. But obviously it's because of their status, you know? And I started researching, you know, and then I also didn't see a lot of women that looked like myself, especially at that time, that had a spirit brand out there. And I didn't see a lot of brands that were really transparent with what they were incorporating into their product. So the idea came about in that moment. A lot of research is involved, obviously. I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning, yeah, that's how I did it. You know, that, I mean, just be straightforward. But to be honest, like, one of my best qualities about myself is being an executor, and it could be ADHD too. But once I'm focused on something, like, that's it. Like, I'll take it and go. So I was very energized about the thought of starting my own tequila brand. And I got connected with a lady in Austin, and she really provided me the reassurance that I needed to get this brand going. It took a lot of time. The pandemic didn't stop me. And July of 2021, we launched in the Texas market. So it's exciting. It has its highs and lows, but Jesus, it was a lot of work.
I can imagine. This lady that you got connected with, I love to hear that. Was this in a mentor relationship? Is it funding? Is it connections? How can you give us some background on just how that part works?
Yeah, I really think it was more, she felt more like a mentor to me because I just went out on a whim and reached out to her. I found her on Google. She had been working for the TABC for 20 years, and she finally decided to branch off and start her own consulting agency, which is very much needed in Texas. I was very vulnerable with her. I was like, listen, I don't know what to do. I come from the construction industry. I need help. And she's like, I'm not going to even charge you, but if you can make your way down here, I'll be glad to just walk you through what to do. So that was really, impactful for me, because I don't think without her help, I wouldn't be where I am today, because I wouldn't know what to do. I still keep in contact with her. She charges now, but, she was very helpful.
You make it sound really simple. I've met someone. They gave me some great advice. They gave me a blueprint, if you will. I did it. But you have to get from that certain area in tequila, right, over into your bottle into Dallas. So there's a lot in between. And so we'll get into that. But what were some of the initial challenges you faced? Was it, looking for funding? Was it looking for people to help with your company?
In the very beginning, prior to launching, funding was not an issue. My mom is like a silent major investor. I was also using my paychecks, and my savings, whatever kind of refund I got from taxes, I was using that. So I wasn't really too concerned about funding.
Rikki, you don't hear that very often. Someone's launching a new company. So that's an incredible place to come from.
Absolutely. Well, bootstrapping is, investors look for they want to see that you invested your own money, your own dollars into, the brand. That was in the beginning. It's a whole different story now. But prior to launching, that wasn't a factor. What really was holding me up was not having experience and time. I'm very impatient. So it was truly humbling to have to sit there and wait for other people to respond to like emails or production or bottles. It took a lot of time. And me and my mom both, we kind of started getting frustrated because it's like, well, where is this going? Like, how much longer? And it's like, I don't know. I'm working with people in a whole different country. There's a lot of communication needs to happen. And those were my biggest hurdles prior to launching, was just time and not enough knowledge. And I am grateful because I started joining Facebook groups because I did want to find like mentors and advisors at the time. And I came upon another consulting agency. And so they've got a background in wine and spirits. One of the co-founders, her father owns a popular distillery out in Austin. And so now those two, they've partnered together and started their own consulting agency. So they helped me out, and they still continue to help me out. Anyway, so I had a little bit of knowledge from them. They have really helped me out there, but still I just didn't have like that mentor advisor that I had in like my back pocket that I could reach out to anytime.
So in terms of tequila, I have to ask this other question is, did you go down? Were you in Mexico? Were you blending your own mix of spirits, or can you take us sort of behind the scene of your brand and how that piece came together to have your unique footprint?
Yeah. So in the beginning, I had the TABC consultant. She advised me. She actually provided me with a list of different distilleries that can help you produce your own brand. And I had a specific profile that I wanted to achieve. So I located one. They were really reputable. I did go down there. And let me tell you, because I believed in this idea, I believed in myself. And so I was struggling. There was a point in time where I was like, I'm going to go down there by myself. And my mom and everybody was like, no, you cannot do that. I'm like, well, I mean, I need to go. People were encouraging me like, yeah, just do it. I was like even looking for influencers that have traveled to Mexico by themselves, like Central Mexico. And they're like, well, I mean, I was fine. I ended up not going by myself. I ended up going with a friend, and we stayed with her family, and they drove us to the distillery. And it's like in the country. It's very beautiful. It was in the city of Tequila. It was such an amazing experience just to be able to tour the distillery and the agave fields and things like that. So yes, I did end up going down there. I think it's imperative that if you're starting a spirit brand, whatever variation it is, you should go and experience where it's from, its roots. I think that's really important. So some brands don't do that nowadays, but it doesn't make sense to me.
I would agree with that. And I think it applies to everything. If you think of skincare, or if you think of coffee, or, just products, know your origin, know where
Absolutely.
they're coming from, know what's going on. So I really think that's great advice. And if you're thinking back on your early impatient self-executing years, was there anything that you can think of that helped you become this entrepreneur that you are today? Is there something that was defining in those earlier years? I know I say earlier. I know we're not too old in that time frame, but what is it that you can think of?
I think there are a few factors that come into play: how I was raised, who raised me, the environment we were raised in, and then just kind of the qualities that have been instilled in me over the course of my years. My mom, she was a single mother. She had 3 kids by the time she was 18. So we struggled growing up. I come from a family of strong women. My great grandmother, based off the things that she was doing, nowadays she would be considered like a self-starter or an entrepreneur, because she cleaned houses, but she cleaned multiple families' houses. But nowadays you would think oh, that's a woman who has her own cleaning company, things like that. I've always been very ambitious. I got a job 2 weeks after I turned 15. I've always kind of wanted to have my own money, set my own schedules. But even all of that, I still do believe that entrepreneurship comes down to certain qualities. And regardless of if I was ambitious or how I was raised in the environment I was raised in, that doesn't necessarily equate to being an entrepreneur. You've got to have those certain qualities. I'm blessed that I had everything. I do credit my life experiences and the qualities to wanting to be an entrepreneur that helped drive that,
It's like you have to take all of that and put it together and then still be you in your own unique way. It's like you have this recipe for something, but it's how you make it and what you do with it that really matters. And so you touched early in our conversation on someone who you met and who helped you and consulted with you and you felt like it was a mentorship relationship. Can you share anything with us from someone who has been influential to you, whether it's her or anyone else, that you would think of was their mentor moment that helped you keep moving, keep going, and changed?
Absolutely. And I will say that it's all shifted since I've launched. I feel like prior to launching, I didn't have a lot of people that believed in me, and I was okay with that. But once I launched, once I had product on the shelves, we were doing articles, getting featured in publications, there was some credibility that attached itself to us, and people reached out. So it was a blessing because I really didn't have to put myself out there as much. People did come to me, but it was important that I had discernment, and, I was very intentional of who I let into me. Yes. I was looking for funding a year after I launched, and I was applying to an accelerator called SKU. It's very popular. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. I was confident I was going to get in. I was like, there's just no way they're going to deny me. But they denied me. And like one of their claims was, oh, well, you have an issue with celebrities. And they said, well, what if Beyonce said she wanted to invest? I'm like, don't bring Beyonce in into it. Like, that's not okay. Anyways, they said, well, hey, there is still some of our mentors want to help you out because they believe you have a good idea, you've got the right vision. And so prior to like reaching out to people, I definitely Google them or LinkedIn search now. There's this one person, her name is Tanya Collins, and she's got a strong marketing background. She now has branched off and started her own beauty care brand, a CPG brand. She has been my mentor ever since. And this year has been pretty tough with fundraising. Fundraising is our hurdle now that we're trying to get over. Being entrepreneurs, we set the bar so high for ourselves, and sometimes it's unattainable at that moment. I had a call with her. I was just like, listen, I'm scared. I just have to be vulnerable with her. But I was like, I'm scared. I'm discouraged. Things aren't working out. You know, what if I can't get back in stock by the end of the year? Like, this will be another year. I'm not going to have sales. And she was like, you know, Rikki, because you're so hard on yourself, you have to redetermine what success looks like at that moment. And that has really stuck with me because I was in such a bubble. I mean, there was nothing I could do. And by her just giving me that little advice, it just like reset me, you know? So like now, I don't like when my emails are above 45 in the inbox. I have them down to 29, and I look at that as success. Like, I mean, my anxiety is through the roof if it's at 50. I'm freaking out, but it's at 29 emails now. That's success to me. At this moment, it's success. So, yeah.
I love that. It's like small things like that. Like I like a 0 inbox or very close to it. You know, like I think I have, you know, more than 0 right now. That to me is not like that my definition of success, but it's certainly my definition of like, okay, I need a little more time to commit to this, you know, it's sort of what I have going on. But it's just it's a great point because where we get so entangled into something and it's all we can see, it's this tunnel vision. And until you sort of step out of it for just a moment, and we need those people around. And so I love this mentor moment you shared with us because it is, you know, someone listening will probably be thinking the same thing. I need to reset this and redefine. And I absolutely love that. So how are you taking these wonderful people in your life and sharing with the people around you? What does mentorship look like just for aspiring entrepreneurs that are reaching out to Rikki and going, oh my gosh, how did you do this?
I love how mentorship works. It's kind of like friendships too. So I have one friend, we met at a Goldman Sachs program, and she's been my girl ever since. I love her to death. So she has her own business, and, you know, she sometimes loses faith in herself, in her business. And I think one of the most important things about mentorship is that, so say for instance, my cup is not full, it's half full, or it's sparse. It's at the bottom. There's no water in it, nothing. I can go to Tanya, who's my mentor, who has a full cup. She's able to like, you know, fill my cup up a little bit because hers is full. And so when she does that, I feel like my cup is full. I can go to my friend and give her some advice, and like help fill her cup. I think that's how I view mentorship, is like you always need someone there. For my mentor, she has someone there too for her to help fill her cup up, and it's like a trickling effect. I think that's how I'm looking at it. And so I try to be there for my friend and help keep her encouraged, especially when my cup is full. So I hope that makes sense. Like I have it visually in my head, and it's like hard to get out.
Is it full of tequila or is it full of, No, I completely understand what you mean. And it's also, if I can like simplify in my mind, I think of things in like 1 or 2 bullet points sometimes. I'm just thinking like surround yourself with people who have the ability to have a full cup at some point. Because it is, you know, great to have one now, but if you don't ever refill it, and if you're not willing to pour a little in someone else's, then it's really doesn't matter. So I think that ability to keep refilling it indicates that they're able to share it. They're able to bounce back. They're able
Absolutely.
to help. So it's a great analogy. And I thank you for sharing that. Are you
Absolutely.
finding we've touched on the spirits industry somewhat, but also, you've come from a variety of industries. So have you noticed mentorship looks different in your new world than it maybe has before? Are you seeing anything that's industry specific about it? Or is it just really the people you're meeting?
Well, I'm an entrepreneur, like I'm a startup founder. So yes, like I think mentorship is very important, but I don't think I would tie it to certain industries because like if I just got like a regular job, a corporate job at a Brown Forman or Diageo, I don't know if there would necessarily be like mentorship for that. That's just my thinking. But since I'm an entrepreneur, mentorship is imperative. And there are a ton of organizations, a ton of people out there that want to help founders that look like me. And they're really at your disposal. You just gotta, honestly, you have to look. You do have to look and put yourself out there.
It's time for a quick sponsored ad from EMK Skincare. It's my skincare secret I swear by and love it so much, I bought the company. EMK was founded over 30 years ago in Beverly Hills and is crafted from science-backed research of human placenta and the bioidentical properties to placenta found in nature. High-potency, plant-powered formulas with clinically proven ingredients. Anti-aging is just not realistic, but healthy aging skin is. And it's why this brand is loved by dermatologists, plastic surgeons, estheticians for its healing ingredients and reduced downtime after procedures. It's my secret to glowing skin, even on my busiest days, my travel days, and my longest work days. Visit emkskincare.com to sign up for emails and receive 15% off your first purchase. Now back to the episode.
What are some of the names of places that you're thinking of? Like if someone's listening and they're like, oh, okay, I want to reach out because, we touched on SKU.
Sure.
Now you and I know about SKU, but will you share a little bit about that organization and maybe a few more that you think are reputable?
Well, okay. Well, SKU, they're not at the top of my list to recommend. If you're searching for capital, then okay, you can check them out. But as far as like free resources, so I'm a part of an organization in the Dallas-Fort Worth area called DFW CPG. Perfect organization. They help startup founders, anybody in the CPG industry. They've got investors too within their network. So that's one organization. There is Wake Up CPG. They're out of Austin, but Austin's not that far from me. Project Potluck, it's an online organization for people of color in the CPG industry. In the wine and spirits, they do have an organization. It's called Women of the Vine and Spirits. It's mostly involves like founders, CEOs of wine and spirit brands too. There's a ton of them out there. Before launching, I was looking on Facebook for certain groups. Now you have to be real strategic about that because there are some Facebook groups that aren't necessarily like safe spaces. So really do your research. But even LinkedIn has their own different groups and things like that. You can follow somebody that you idolize or that you want to be mentored, anything. Yeah, there's a ton of resources out there, but those are just a few.
I like how you touched on there's so many Facebook groups, you're right, that are facades for more lead generation scenarios than actual support, or the people that are in them are not the ones that you want to associate with. You've had to learn some really tough boundaries with toxic relationships and who to let in and who to let out. Would you share a little bit about that so we can benefit from this level of boundary?
That's a great question. So I was a part of a cohort program last year, and they had different professors in, and they were educating us on just certain areas of our business. I can't remember what area this one they were specifically talking about, but the term pruning came up, like if you're pruning away vines. And I have definitely implemented that into my journey. I had some friends that were in my life I've had to prune away. I think one friend in particular, she got involved in my business. And in the beginning, it was just going really great, but things started to change over time. There were certain expectations that people had that just were unrealistic. And, when I can't adhere to someone else's expectations, that causes like resentment and their behavior to change. That affects me in the long run. So I've definitely had to prune people away, because I will say if I still had certain friends in my life now, I'm going through a tough period with this brand. I don't think they would have been supportive. I think they would have been sitting back and being like, haha, like
she thought she could do this, and now look at her. That kind of thing.
Yes. And so it's vital that you do that, especially for your mental health. Like, you need the right people around you, and just check their behavior. If they're switching up, you'll see the memes, people you see all the memes and the little think pieces and the quotes, like, believe it, believe the behavior, and be ready to cut them off.
There you go. It's as simple as that. Prune away, everyone.
Prune away.
So tell us about what the projects you're working on with EGO Tequila right now. Like, what's in the future? You started, you launched. I know you're working on funding rounds. Where are we going?
There's a lot going on. My schedule, I actually started a part-time job a few weeks ago, but I had to let it go on Monday. My schedule, it's crazy how much my schedule changes like that in an instant. So we're looking for board advisors right now. And I've had calls with about 6 different people, and I still have about like 7 more calls to go. So we're looking at doing that. We're about to open up a crowdfunding campaign at the end of August. And we're going to be back in stock by mid-September, and we're launching back into specs. There's just so much going on, and it's just crazy right now. Yeah, it's a lot.
So back into specs. I know that, so through specs, are you directly distributing through them, or are you working through someone else?
We have a distributor. We currently work with the 3rd largest distributor here in Texas. They're called Greenlight. And so we're a B2B company. So we sell our goods to them, and then they sell our goods to the retailers.
Right. Hey, just be happy you have that relationship set up. I mean, that's a huge opportunity. So congratulations on that. So so everyone knows, is this in Texas only where we're listening, or will this be, are you looking for launch in other states?
Yeah. So when we get back in stock, we'll be launching a pre-sale for online shipping. So they can find us there if they're not in Texas. We're aiming by Q1 of next year to be in Oklahoma and Colorado. If you're not in any of those states, you can find us online on our website. So
there you go. And just come to Texas, right? That's all you have to do.
Come to Texas.
So in the beverage industry and in any industry that we're all in, there are trends, things move really quickly. I mean, just think about 5-10 years ago, the percentage growth of tequila. Wow. I mean, it's an unbelievable growth segment of the spirit brand. So how are you staying ahead of that? How are you distinguishing yourself from these other brands out there?
We like to keep up with the trends. Anything like you see happening on social media, like TikTok, if it's a trending sound, like last year, Barbie obviously was a hit for the summer. We try to keep up with trends to stay relevant with our audience. Even if there are any like local, we're in Texas, so if there are any big local events going on too, we try to see how we can be involved, and, just making sure we're, staying in touch and in tuned with our audience. Right now, we have just 2 expressions, but hopefully within the next year, we can roll out a new expression. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for a rosé tequila, because that also resonates well with our audience. So making sure that we're diversifying our expressions, our SKUs, and just keeping up with trends. I think that, just keeps us relevant, in tuned with the traffic of, the spirits industry and things like that. Over 70% of the tequilas on shelves contain additives. So that's your glycerin, oak extract, sugar, caramel coloring. Like if you have a reposados, typically they take about 8 months to age in a whiskey oak barrel, right? But because tequila is in such high demand, especially during the pandemic, certain brands were resorting to additives in order to keep up with demand. So they would add the caramel coloring for the, to give it the darker color, the sugar to make it sweet. And also it's important to note that agaves take about 6 to 7 or 5 to 7 years to fully mature. Because of the demand, they had to use premature agaves, and they're much smaller in size and they're much bitter versus a mature agave. It's more sweeter. So because they have to incorporate those premature agaves, they add the sugar additives, and all that really takes away the true essence of what a tequila is supposed to taste like. And you mentioned a good thing. You said, money talks. Money does talk. Don't get me wrong. It does. But there's power in people's voices. The more exposed they're going to get, the more vocal people are going to get. They want accountability. They want more transparency. I think that's really going to start to see a lot of changes over the course of the next few years. And people are going to be more concerned about what it is that they're putting in their bodies.
I would agree. I think that people, like at least the people I meet who have never been drinking, I just started drinking tequila probably 4 years ago. It's never been a favorite of mine. We've all had these days back in college, and it's like, it's not the same thing any longer. But everyone I run into, they're drinking ranch waters, they're, sipping tequila, it's a whole different thing. But I feel like these folks also are saying they're doing it because it's sugar, their drinks are sugar free, or, they just feel healthier. So I think this additive piece is speaking to the right market, right? Because those are the same people that are going to go, well, hold on, I switched over to you because I feel better. Don't put additives in my drink and add things that make me feel mentally like this isn't great stuff.
Even prior to launching, I heard that too, like, oh, tequila is a healthier drink. They weren't fully truthful in that. It's a healthier spirit because it's supposed to be water, yeast, and agave. But when you're adding all those other additives, it definitely becomes more junky, and leads to the headaches and the bad hangovers. So, people got to do their research too. And Tequila Matchmaker is a really good organization if you want to understand what it is you're drinking.
Good. Yeah, that really helps. What's your favorite tequila cocktail, Rikki?
I'm a simple girl. Okay. So I'll go for a simple margarita. Okay. But this time it used to be like a Blanco, but now I love Reposado. So I love Reposado in all of my margaritas because it has more flavor. Yeah.
All right. What is the biggest tequila myth out there that you can solve for us?
That it burns.
That's a good one.
That it burns.
I was thinking about, I feel like they're also and there's not a worm in the bottom of every bottle.
Listen, I've been to Mexico quite a few times, like Central Mexico, and a lot of the people in town, they love a tequila that has the bite in it. They do. But as Americans, we don't like that. It depends on the distillery that you use. And again, that goes back to research. And some of them, they do have the worm in it. I've even seen one with a snake. So, you got to be, it's out there, but got to find the right
know your drink. Do your research on it. Rikki, what's the mentor moment that you want to share with our listeners today that will allow them to remember you and think about you from this episode?
Great question. I would say be intentional and be strategic about who you bring into your circle. As you're getting to know someone that you're looking at as being an advisor or a mentor, they can say a lot of things, but if the behavior doesn't align with what they say, then that should just tell you a lot about who they are. There was a quote I heard recently, and it said a lot of Black and brown founders are underfunded, but they're over-mentored. And that spoke a lot to me because there are people out there that just want a pat on the back and they say, hey, I did something good. I helped this founder out. But if they're not exposing you to their network or helping you in any kind of way that gets the needle moving on your brand, then they're not the right ones for you. So
yeah, very well put. We talked about making sure that you vet who's around you, pick great people, and it sounds really simple. Yet, when you don't know your topic and you're entering something new and you're really looking for help, I can see that it's been a tricky thing for you. It's been a tricky field to walk in. And so we can only rely on those vetting systems and those synchronized in speech and behavior. And so I think it's a great reminder.
That doesn't happen overnight. That's something you may bring the wrong person on board and have to learn for it in the future. And I've definitely had the wrong people in my circle. So pruning that's when that happens. So.
So I have a question. If you're so great, it sounds like, at asking people for help, right? And that's very hard to do. And you're good at reaching out, all of these things. What is your part once that happens? Because I talk with a lot of mentors and they say, well, I love helping people, but when it comes to giving them the advice or, showing, helping, whatever I'm doing for them, they don't do it, or, they keep just asking other people for advice. So as a mentee and as someone who's very comfortable already as that getting over that obstacle, how do you feel like you can be a good mentee to these people?
Oh, I love that. I think it goes back to that quality of mine of being an executor. I don't feel like any of my mentors would have to endure that because they know who I am and they know I tend to implement their advice into my journey or into any kind of task that I'm doing because I trust their word. I trust their advice. They've either been in my shoes or they've had that experience or they come from that industry. So they're not going to steer me in the wrong direction. I'm very blessed to have that because not everyone has that circle of people they can trust,
I would agree with you. I think that is the difference. It's like someone listening today, it's like, just execute. If you're going to spend their time and effort and energy and yours connecting with them, execute or use it to make a decision or, do something with it, I guess is the point, right?
Absolutely.
For everyone listening. So awesome. Okay. You have been an amazing guest mentor today. So thank you for joining us. Rikki, where can everyone find you, support you, and we already know we can buy your tequila in Texas. So Where are you?
Me personally, you can always find me on LinkedIn. I'm on there every day, like every second of the day. So just Rikki Kelly. But and then you can also find us on social media, EGO Tequila. We're on all platforms. And then you can check us out on our website, egotequila.com.
EGO Tequila. This is fantastic. Thank you for joining us, Rikki.
Thank you, Rainey. I appreciate it.
Before you go, a huge thank you for being a part of this episode. I hope it left you with a spark of inspiration. And if you haven't already, hit that follow button and subscribe button to stay connected. Now is a great time. Your reviews are the heartbeat of our podcast. So if you enjoyed what you heard today, a review would really mean the world to us. Let's keep this conversation going as well on Instagram at RainyAlfers. Visit us at rainyalfers.com for all episodes, show notes, and also to express your interest to be a guest. Please sign up. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, I'll see you back on Working Women Mentor.